eyes in the sky, gazing far into the night. I raise my hand to the fire, but it's no use, 'cause you can't stop it from shining through. It's true, baby, let the light shine through. If you believe it's true, baby, won't you let the light shine through for you, for you, for you, for you, for you, for you, won't you let the light shine through?
Hi everyone, welcome to Deception Detection Radio. I'm Kay.
And I'm Chad.
We trust you all had a blessed week. Tonight joining Chad and me concerning U.S. and world news is a very special returning guest, my friend and our brother in Christ, John B. Wells. John was a Saturday night host on Coast to Coast AM radio, who now is heading his own radio broadcast, Caravan-to-Midnight. John has done television announcing, radio, commercials, movie voiceovers since he was a teenager. He is someone that I have respected and admired for years for never shying away from any topic others may find too controversial. A man who says what he thinks and means what he says. Everyone, we would like to welcome back to Deception Detection Radio, John B. Wells. Welcome, John.
Thank you very much for having me on. Thank you very much.
It's always a pleasure. Always. And I'm so glad that you take the time to come on and share with us.
Well, I'm happy to do it, and I'll tell you, there's plenty to share out there right about now. We're just hitting with everything that I could possibly imagine. It's just, it's so interesting, it's almost scary. But then again, that thing about may you live in interesting times is not an old Chinese saying. It's an old Chinese curse, as it turns out. So, oh well, maybe we should make it a point to break that curse. I just assume the times were just a little bit less interesting than they are now, and we can talk about other things like unicorns and rainbows and things, you know?
Yes, but you know what? That would stir up controversy too.
Yes.
It doesn't matter what you talk about anymore. There's always a hot spot in the middle of it somewhere.
Well, you know, I'm sure there'd be some sort of somebody in a twist of, no, wait a minute, what's the meaning of this rainbow, and what's the deal? Why isn't it a duocorn? Why is it a unicorn? This is not fair. All the other, you know, what makes this particular beast, mythical or otherwise, so special? Every other beast has two horns. This one only has one. Oh, this is some form of oblique discrimination. Anyway, I digress. It's just so silly. You can just pick up anything you want to and kind of run with it, and in a few sentences, it's twisted into something silly. It's kind of fun, but doesn't last long, right?
Right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and say tonight's prayer, and then we're going to get right to our talk with John B. Wells. Okay, everyone ready?
Ready.
Okay. Dear Father in heaven, once again, I come to you, and I thank you so much for just everything that you do and for bringing us all together, for bringing John on and Chad and for all the listeners that are out there. Let us share with them things that may be weighing on their heart or they're not quite sure, Lord, and that this will help clarify and get through what you want them to hear and the meaning that they may be looking for. We're living in very trying times, God, and we know that, and we know that we must go through this before your return. Please help to make us strong, all of us, the audience, Chad, John, and myself. And keep us strong, Father, in your word. Protect us all. Let us open our ears to everything that you want us to hear. Etch upon our hearts so that we keep what you want us to hear with us. And please lead us tonight and let your words become our words. I ask you this, Father, in Jesus' holy and mighty name. Amen.
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 Well, John, where do we start tonight? I know I always ask you that, but I have to because there's so many starting points.
Well, I'll tell you what, I've got a good idea. I just looked at the Drudge Report just a little while ago, and what does it say? We own the media. This is absolutely unbelievable. let's see. I just started scrolling down through this thing, and of course, this person is, you know how people write articles. They start off with all this exposition. You know, the smell of the air, the sound of the gravel being crunched on your feet. And you got to scroll down a bunch of pages until you get to the actual meat of the article. It's just astounding to me how little blowback there has been from people's knowledge and the general knowledge now that this propaganda act from the old days has now been reenacted, and it's completely legal for the government via the mainstream media, which they're certainly not going to do it through the alternative media, right? Through mainstream media, it's perfectly all right for them to propagandize us, which means lie to us, just say whatever they need to say to get us to go, oh, okay, well, we'll adjust our thinking to what you want it to be. It's really extraordinary. We already know that 6 corporations own almost 100% of all the media in this country: television, radio, film, print, that's newspapers and magazines. 6 companies. And, I mean, why does General Electric need to own a major media outlet? I don't know. You know, General Electric, when we're not making toasters and washing machines and things that help people, we make A-bomb triggers that hurt people. It's just weird. It really is. So I don't understand why there isn't more of an outcry from the public, except the possibility that they've decided, well, I don't care about mass surveillance and I don't care about propaganda because I'm going to do what I want to anyway, and besides, I don't have anything to hide. I think that's really dangerous. I think a lot of people have decided that's where they are. That's what side of the line they're on.
Well, also the denial. They don't want to confess that these things are going on because then they have to accept that there's a change going on in their little corner of the world.
Well, that's absolutely true, and that, of course, would entail some responsibility. Personally, I can't believe that we call her Hildebeest now. That would be Hillary Clinton, the Hildebeest. I can't believe that this person is running a fairly successful, presidential campaign. With all this controversy about everything from Benghazi to the email server, all this stuff, possible indictment, the emails relating to Benghazi. State Department decided, no, we're not going to cooperate with the FBI. What? Unbelievable. And then, of course, there's everything else that goes along with it.
Clinton Foundation, along with all the back when she was the Secretary of State, she was doing all those deals, going and doing speeches and sending Bill over there to do speeches to garnish favors.
Oh, sure, and make sure and collect a bunch of donations to the various foundations.
Oh, yeah.
That's really cute, too. Well, foundations are notorious. I mean, foundations are notorious for laundering money and holding money that's otherwise not taxable. So, it's just, it's the golden rule, but it's not the one that most people think. The one with the most gold makes the rules, and they do. So that's where we are.
And that also had a lot to do with what was going on out there in Nevada with the mineral rights to the Russia that basically Hillary had garnished away back when she was Secretary of State, that the Bundys and all them have been out there fighting for, trying to keep their land.
Yeah, how about that? Russia now owns 20% of our uranium product here. I suspect that's what the Hammond Ranch was about too.
Oh yeah.
Up in Oregon, they say that's what it is. I can't prove it. What I'm doing now is I'm acting like Paul the parrot. I prefer Paul the parrot to Polly the parrot. That's not going to work. But Paul the parrot is currently just repeating stuff that he's heard. Can't prove it, but there is a pretty strong allegation that that's what they were after. That's why the Hammonds got bounced. That's why they've been after them. They've been after that piece of land, according to reports, since the 1930s.
I believe it.
And they tried it again in the 70s. And so now they've effectively done it. And they jailed those guys on a completely bogus charge of setting backfires, which is a common practice. You just burn off a strip so that when the big wildfire comes, you've already burned off a strip, and so it's a fire break. It's actually not They call it a backfire, but it's really a fire break is what it is. And they charged them under some ridiculous terrorism.
Yeah, and the BLM themselves are also guilty of setting all these fires out there and burning people's homes and stuff. And it's okay for them to do it, but if somebody's out there trying to set fires to protect their property, well, goodness, they're terrorists.
Well, the government's out of control, and the best thing that could happen right now is, all of us are on a list. Well, I think we need to put all of them on a list.
Yeah.
These directors and these agents and the more aggressive representatives of those agencies, they need to be put on a list. And if this thing gets as bad as it possibly could, then those people need to be rounded up, and if necessary, tried.
Yeah.
They really do, and if necessary, their assets seized, and they can experience the minimalist comforts of a concrete holding cell for a few years. I mean, right now they're holding. They're saying that Ammon Bundy is like chained to a bed, and they're starving him and torturing him. I think it's wonderful that you open your program with a prayer, because in so many ways, the spiritual part, we say, I was about to say the spiritual part of our lives. It's like the spiritual part of our lives doesn't need to be just a part. We're spiritual beings inhabiting a physical body. We're spiritual beings experiencing the physical world. But most people are like, well, I'm about 5 to 10% spiritual, and the rest is physical. I really kind of think that mindset, that paradigm is being broken. I think people are beginning to realize that they've been hypnotized, mesmerized, and otherwise distracted by all this physicality, the lust for things, which was largely foisted on us.
Yes.
There have always been greedy people, but all that massive marketing campaign that they did for women, particularly in the 90s. Woman of the 90s, you can have it all. You can have a successful career and keep your husband happy and maybe even raise a kid. It's like, well, that's not really true. You have to, you can have some pie, but you can't have all you want. You're going to have a little slice of family life, a little slice of business life, and a little slice of whatever social life you have outside your family. But you're not going to be able to do all of this. There are not enough hours in the day. So when we come back around to, do you think maybe we could try to serve the great one who created us and put us here? Does that sound like a good idea to anybody? And people are finding, and I'll tell you, we get email from people every day that are, because I do a lot of this. I know there's somebody out there going, I don't want to hear about Jesus. If I want to go to church, I'll go to church. I'll hear about Jesus. My response is, yeah, right. Except you haven't done that, have you? So settle down and be quiet. You're going to hear a little bit about Jesus right now.
Amen.
I promise you one thing, it's not going to hurt you. It will not harm you. I mean, any players, any takers? And people are like, well, when you put it that way, yeah, go ahead. And we get, can I just say, praise the Lord for putting me in a position to do anything that might actually be of some value or good. We get email all the time from people every day saying, you know what, I was so hardcore, but listening to your guests, listening to you, blah, 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 because I'm just there. You know what I mean? I was led to be there. I didn't plan any of this. I had a glimpse of what the plan might be, but I'm not going to tell you that I plan to do this, and then the next thing I'm going to do is that, and then I'm going to wind up doing caravan-to-midnight, and everything's going to be great. I didn't plan any of that. All I did was step on the stones that were set out in front of me, and I say this on almost every interview. And Kay, if I'm giving you a rerun, I apologize, but I don't think that I can say it enough. I didn't do this. Mm-mm. I was put in a position to do the job, to do the mission. And we will get email from people that say, or even written letters. We had a lot of handwritten letters. People still write in cursive, of all things.
Wow.
Yeah, they don't print like our commie masters want us to do. They actually write in cursive. They say, I was really hardcore. I listened to your guests. I listened to you, and I have restored my faith. I have returned to the Lord, and I'm going to do everything that I can to read and learn and know Scripture and to serve God. And in that way, I'll also be serving my fellow men and women properly, instead of it all being me, me, me. I mean, that sentence right there is a combination of several emails, but people are going, I was wrong. I thought I was right, but I wasn't. And now, after just listening for a little bit, I've kind of broken this spell that's been over me, and I've returned to the fold. So keep doing what you're doing, and may God bless you. And it's like, wow, some of that stuff is so emotional, I can't read it on the air at all. I'll lose it. I'll go all Italian, which I do have a component of that in my makeup, and it's like I'll get teary about some of it because some of that stuff is so sweet you can't help but get a little teary over it if you got any kind of sensitivity in you at all. So these people string. This is the good part. This is the good part. If you don't mind my just going on for a minute. This deception that we've been living under, that's been foisted upon us by a global cabal of, frankly, evildoers. Well, how could you call them evildoers? Well, because they squander tens, hundreds of thousands of lives, millions of lives, in furtherance of what? Control. Control of what? Land and the people who occupy that land. Why? Because power is good. Someone needs to wield power, and so we'll do it. It's like, oh, really? And who are you accountable to? We're not accountable to your God, I'll tell you that. It's like, yeah, that's what you think. These people in power are so deluded, they actually believe they're right. That's the dangerous thing, is when you get a lunatic, and that lunatic thinks the actions being taken are right. They're just. And so I would submit to you that there is some good news. These people are running out of string. People don't trust the government. People don't trust the mainstream media. That's good. We weren't ever supposed to trust the government or the press. We were to have freedom of the press. But there wasn't anything in there that suggested that we were in any way compelled to believe the press. There was a presumption that we might do some of our own research. We might not just take for granted this being a true thing that's being written about and now broadcast. Look at all the cover-ups of mainstream media over things that were really big and blew up later.
Oh yeah, like there was the Fox incident that happened when they tried to talk about the bovine. You remember that? They were talking about the Monsanto bovine injections. And
oh yeah,
and they ended up firing those two employees because they wouldn't change their story and lie about it.
Well, that's right, and I think it was Colby said that CIA owns every significant figure in mainstream media. He used the word owns, and that's just how it is. Well, guess what? Now that information is out. It was one thing when nobody said anything. It was one thing when that was the fact, but nobody really knew it. But now there are too many people picking up the mantle of truth and saying, I've done some research over here, and look, Bob over there, he's done some, and Joe and Shirley and Susan and Carolyn and Peter and Paul and Mary, they're all doing it. All of these people are independent investigative reporters, independent. They're not even taking a check for it. There's nothing in it for them. They don't want a job in mainstream media. They want to stop the initiative. That is a freedom fighter. That is a truth seeker. That is a courageous individual that will put their reputation from their families. Oh, you're crazy. You're off down the wrong path. To their friends, well, we used to be friends, but I just can't embrace. I can't condone what you're doing. Well, the truth doesn't require anybody's belief in it to exist. And as long as the people refuse to accept the truth and they go on acting as though the deception they're living under is in fact the truth, eventually that system's going to collapse, and it's collapsing now. Nobody really believes Barack Obama is a legitimate president.
No.
There have been too many questions raised about it. And what does that do? It snowballs into all the rest of it. Well, wait a minute. If they can pull this one over on us, what else have they pulled over on us? Well, just about everything. I mean, look at the mileage that they got out of Ebola. Not very much.
No.
Now they're trying for Zika. Well, they're not getting much mileage out of that either. So it's insane, and they occupy everybody's minds with gay rainbow colors on the White House after the Supreme Court hands down a decision that it had no business ever taking up. You talk about a separation of church and state violation, really?
Well, you heard about Greg Abbott getting on that, didn't you? That basically.
Oh yeah. What a good man he seems to be.
Yeah, I like Greg Abbott. He's a good guy.
Yes, he is. But people are they're more preoccupied with, Chad, I feel like a woman today. I'm going to go to the ladies' restroom. They're more concerned with that than with the several nuclear disasters just in this country that are just waiting to happen. In fact, some of them are already happening. You heard about Indian Point up there near New York. That thing's leaking radioactive water and has been for a long time. Biscayne Bay's got Turkey Point, I think it's called, that thing's leaking tritium into the water, and once you get tritium in the water, you'll never get it out. It remains there. That's just how it is.
Yeah, that's.
And then you got the whip side out of New Mexico. They're putting 6,000 cubic meters of nuclear waste into this thing every year. And then, of course, you got a fire that's been burning for 5 years up there by St. Louis, and it's beginning to encroach upon the nuclear waste dump. It's insane. But what we do is, hey, Sports Illustrated is going to feature Caitlyn Jenner in the nude on their magazine. It's like, oh, no, that's really important stuff. There he stands in his dress. Okay. It's just stupid.
If it wasn't for the non-mainstream media, so much of this information would not reach the people because the mainstream media will not report. They distract.
Well, they've been pumping out propaganda for years. That's the thing. If you go back and you actually look into Edward Bernays and all them, I mean, that was the whole reason why they dumbed down education. I mean, was it Charlene Iserbyt actually wrote a book called The Deliberate Dumbing Down of America. And this is all a systematic plan. They dumbed down the curriculum starting back after World War II, and they've just been slowly eroding the curriculum to where nowadays people just don't even care. It's like, it's not that they're, some of them are incapable of thinking, but a vast majority of them are just, they're so uneducated they don't care.
Yeah, as John was speaking about people writing, John, in cursive. I live here in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and they have taken cursive writing completely out of the schools.
Oh, they took it out here in Texas as well.
I about fell over when I asked my son. I needed him to sign something. He's 19 now, and he printed it. And I said, why aren't you writing your name? He said, what do you mean? I said, writing in cursive. And I know that he started out learning it because I worked with him. But all at once he said, I don't remember how to do it.
Yeah, I remember when we were kids in the first grade, you had your capital letters with the lowercase letter right next to it, and you just learned. The kiddies would sit there, and that stretched out across the entire width of the classroom, and you always saw that. So by the time it was time to practice your writing, your brain had already put those symbols into it. It was just a matter of getting your fingers trained to make the symbols, and it was fine. I mean, whatever. See, look, that's just striking individuality from people. That's what it is. I mean, my father had a very sharp, very tight handwriting, and my mother had a more roundish and more fluid kind of handwriting. Both were equally legible, but they were two distinctive styles. So when you take away a person's ability to write in cursive, you have just chiseled away a little bit of their individuality. You look at some of these letters that still exist from the Civil War, where these men would write their wives and sweethearts back home, and it'd take forever to get the mail there, although remarkably fast, considering it was going by horseback. And you see the beautiful language and the time and the care taken to form these letters and express these thoughts, and it was just a beautiful work of art. It was no less beautiful than a beautiful painting. But listen, this is nothing more than global communism. Communism and Marxism, I've said this on the program repeatedly over the last few months probably, but I want everybody and the new people to join, I want them to hear this. Communism and Marxism are ideals. These are things which cannot really be achieved, but this is what we as good little communists strive for. From each according to his talents and to each according to his needs. Isn't that just a perfect world? This is global communism. The practical application of communism is socialism. Now you say, well, now how can that be when the communist Russians were fighting the socialist Nazis? There are only subtle differences between communism, socialism, and fascism. In the end, the state controls everything. And it's just a question of how well the citizens are cared for, given those requirements juxtaposed to the productivity of the nation. And so what we have now, today on the program, we had Doctors Dimitra Antimisiaris and Dr. Daryl Hamamoto. And we were talking about how the educations, first of all, you remember Charlotte Isabeth was talking about how in the Soviet system, she was told, we don't train for jobs that don't exist. I said, well, look at this. This is playing out perfectly. You have all kinds of job loss. You have a third of your population on some sort of subsidy. You get the kids to come into college and university because everybody deserves to go to college. Well, that's just not true, for one thing, but that's what they're selling. So they get into it, and then they wind up with all this ridiculous debt. Then, when they finish with their curriculum, they find that there is no job whatsoever that has anything to do with what they spent all that money on to learn how to do. All right, fine. So why are we shoving all these kids into college and university? For their indoctrination. Mm-hmm. That's what that's all about. Now, if you look, and I said the test case is South Africa. They had a culture. The Afrikaans are still holding on to it by bloody fingernails. They had a culture. They were a nuclear power. There were no black people on the Cape when they came in there over 300 years ago. They were invaded from the north because they were starving in the north. Why is that? They couldn't feed themselves. Just like Zimbabwe, formerly Rhodesia. They kill the farmers as soon as their bellies are full, and then they start starving again. They call them back. And then when they're sated once again, then they start killing them again, running them off. And then when they start starving again, they call them back. They're on their third round of this now. So what we've got here is, okay, here's the combo. You get an education system that teaches you nothing, including cursive writing. It's all about attitudes and how you relate to other people. It has nothing to do with academics.
Exactly.
You carry on that in an advanced form in college and university. Then you usher in Obamacare, the worst health care plan ever devised. You have good doctors leaving the system. You have some doctors which will not take insurance at all. If you got a checkbook and a check or a credit card, we'll treat you otherwise, no insurance. So what's going to happen there? The next step is government hospitals and private hospitals. You got the money, you go to the private hospital. You don't got the money, you go to the government hospital. When you are there, you will see people lying in their own effluvia. You will see them on the floor. You will see the most disgusting conditions you can possibly. It's like rolling the clock back to about, 1840 or something, before Louis Pasteur got involved in anything.
Well, just look at the VA hospitals. That's a prime example right there. They're not even taking care of the vets that go over there and fight these wars that they're the ones pushing for.
Yes.
Well, that's right. And Shad, the reason for that, in my opinion, is that there is no draft. I actually have, you would think that this would have made a pretty big splash, because I don't think this has ever been done before or since. But I called on to not Caravan, but Coast to Coast AM one night. I had Paul Rogers from Bad Company, Jack Cassidy from Jefferson Airplane, Leslie West from Mountain, and Ian Anderson of Jethro Tull. Each come on for an hour, and I wanted to discuss with them what happened to the so-called revolution. What happened? Where is the revolutionary spirit? Where are the protests? Where is all the I mean, yeah, they were struggling. They were striving for individuality, but in the end, they were all wearing, flowery shirts and with long hair and, patchouli oil. So they had really kind of morphed into looking a little bit the same. But that stuff happens. It just became the uniform, but for what later became a cliche, a so-called revolution. The only revolution that was going on really was the communist revolution. I got this book. I'd forgotten that I'd seen it long ago called Prairie Fire. Bill Ayers and Bernadine Dorn and a couple other people were the authors of it. That was the real revolution that was underway. They were fighting against American imperialism. They were fighting against the war in Vietnam. But it wasn't to bring the troops back. It was to turn this country into a communist nation like the regime in North Vietnam. And you're going, you people are crazy,
They've already pretty much succeeded. I mean, that's the thing. We've already slid straight on into despotism. I mean, we're there. There's no going back. And that's the thing. There's actually a documentary called Agenda: The Grinding Down of America. And if you watch that, I mean, it's everything that they wanted to set out to achieve. They've achieved. We're there.
Yes, they really have. And you see, there's no draft. So when you talk about the VA treating the soldiers poorly when they come back and pretty much throwing them away, you are correct, because there is no outrage over these undeclared wars now. The only reason there was back in the old days of Vietnam was because there was a draft, and you could wind up, little Timmy from next door could wind up in an army uniform carrying a 14 or a 16 out there and not coming home. And people got sick of that. But it's funny, in those days, the mainstream media, they really didn't like it. They didn't like the fact that they were showing the body bags. They were showing the carnage. They were showing the Life magazine and publications like that were showing that suspected Viet Cong guy getting shot in the head by that policeman in Saigon. You remember that one? And the little girl walking with no clothes on down the road with her arms out from her sides because she just survived a napalm attack.
Yeah.
So what happened? Mainstream media was reporting what was really going on over there. They were anti-war. So what happened? Well, right after that, they locked the media down. 1967, CIA coined the term conspiracy theory and conspiracy theorists because they wanted to prop up the sagging and pathetic Warren Commission report.
Yeah. This
whole thing really got rolling. I mean, the so-called intelligentsia has wanted this for a long time, certainly the entirety of the last century. But it wasn't really possible to do it until 1963 when John Kennedy was assassinated, because that was in November 63, and in April 64, we went into Vietnam, stayed there until 1975. And then what? Then all this stuff in the Middle East started happening. The Shah gets deposed. The Ayatollah goes in. Hostages get seized. It really was all about oil in the beginning. But they're not, these guys are smart. They're not going to do something like, we're going to invade this country and take all their oil. Look, it's all in barrels now. We're taking it. No, they don't do that. What they do is they go in there and they set up a little criminal sub-cabal, and then they pipe it to their allies, and they just take the check.
Well, that's what happened with ISIS. I mean, they actually trained the ISIS soldiers down there in Jordan and then set them out on the loose. I mean, you remember they were all rolling around in brand new Toyota pickup trucks. And it's like,
where'd they get those?
Yeah, where'd they get those? And then, plus they just kept rolling through town after town, getting all this this U.S. military equipment. It's like, please, come on.
Well, how about that guy? Wasn't the guy from Texas and his pickup truck wound up over there?
Yeah. He was like, because it still had the frickin' logo on there of his business.
Dean's, sheet metal or whatever it was. It was ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, this whole thing has been one big bank job. The whole thing has been a big bank job, but it's falling apart. Problem is that we've been asleep for so long. This is what's going to make it tough. We've been asleep for so long that they've really built up all their drone capabilities, their surveillance capabilities. Everybody's on the list. Everybody. The Social Security is going to immediately start denying people they consider to be mentally ill They don't want them to have any firearms. They want to get those firearms. Obama's going to try and set up a scenario where you can call the UN in here, and then the great United Nations will be the ones who will do the firearms confiscation. I don't really know what's happened, other than, I don't know. I can go back and try and back engineer what I think their protocol was really designed to accomplish. But you remember when, let's take cable TV, for example, now satellite delivered also.
Mm-hmm.
At first it was supposed to be, and see, they borrow bits and pieces, much like Islam does. It borrows for a little bit from the Bible, a little bit from this, a little bit over here, and we'll throw in some angels, and we'll throw in, we'll make our own religion. There's a TV tax that people pay in England, right? And they still pay it. Well, the idea was here, I know what we'll do. What we'll do is we'll charge for TV, but we won't run any advertising, at least not yet. I mean, that was supposed to be the deal. When, one of the first stations to sign on in 82 was MTV. We didn't see any commercials. It was all really crude, and it was funny. And HBO had that dent in remember the silver letters, HBO, that come flying down and turn around? I always thought there was a dent in that thing. And sure enough, there was, because it was made out of stainless steel. And they did a special on it. And the guys were talking who had designed the logo said, yeah, there was a dent in it. It's like, I knew there was a dent in that thing. I saw it. Every time it would come down, and the theme song, da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da, big triumphant thing, big epic music, and there's a dent in it. Well, here's the thing. What did they do? It's stuffed full of commercials now. Only a few of those channels on cable are completely devoid of commercials. Mm-hmm. Stuff like Turner Classic Movies. They don't run commercials. They run promos, but they don't run commercials.
Some of the things you have to pay to get rid of those commercials, too. I have Hulu. And
here's
I
the thing.
can pay to have the commercials taken out. I'm not going to pay it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what TiVo, and that's what your personal digital recorder or whatever is for. You just pause the thing and then just skip through the commercials. That's about the best thing you can do. I can remember a guy was up there in Congress going, well, if they don't want to see our commercials, then they should pay us a stipend if they don't want to do that. And everybody's kind of rolled their eyes and went, forget it. I don't think anybody's going to go for that. Nice try, but forget it. But here's the point. Look how much mileage they got out of just having ABC, CBS, and NBC, and maybe an independent station in each decent-sized city, okay, of, say, 400,000 people or more. How much more effective can we be if we've got like 500 channels? But you go through 500 channels, and you'll find maybe 50 of them that actually do anything that's very much different than the other channels. It's all stuff blowing up. It's all disgusting, supernatural beings doing weird stuff to the humans. And it's really the same stuff. You go and see a movie, and if you just think about it for a second, you'll see where the whole thing, either that guy or that guy is guilty. Oh, I know. No, it's her. I mean, all of these movies that they're putting out, it's like, hey, it's a new movie with Tom Cruise. Well, I like Cruise's movies. They're pretty good. But you know what's going to happen. There's going to be the event. Now, there's going to be the guy who's going to deliver payback, or the girl. They're going to go through all of this stuff, and in the end, there's going to be one big final fight scene, and then he's going to try and go back to his life. I mean, it's the same thing over and over and over again. But people keep watching it. They keep buying it.
It's kind of like that movie Avatar. I mean, that was just a sci-fi version of Dances with Wolves,
Pretty much. Pretty much. Yeah, actually, we talked to a fellow earlier in the week that was anytime the main blue guy, fell or had to do a stunt, this is the man who did it. He's a pretty cool cat. I can't call his name right now to save my life, and I just talked to him a couple of days ago. But yeah, hey, it's a job. Everybody works. Look at the expense involved in making a motion picture, which may or may not do anything.
Well, I don't even get excited anymore. I mean, that's the thing is you see movies like Transformers and stuff, and all they do is just run. Oh my God, look out! Just explosions. It's like, this is stupid. It's like there's no story. I don't care anything about the characters. It's like, why am I even here?
Yeah, I got hooked on 24 for a little bit. I resisted it for years, and then finally I started watching it just about a year or two before it went off the the seasons ended before they resurrected it. I don't even know if it's on anymore. I really don't. I think it is, but I'm not sure. But there's Jack Bauer out there saving the world with that pistol. You know what I mean? I wanted to say that bleeping pistol, but yeah, I guess I just did. But it's like, seriously, how much world saving do you think you're going to do with that pistol? It's stupid.
Yeah, it's like White House down and Olympus has fallen.
Yeah, how about that? You got what? And I think they've made. Are those sequels or what's the deal? We had White House down, and then we had Olympus has fallen. Mm-hmm. Which isn't that the same movie? I mean, did they just repackage it, rebrand it, and it's the same picture? Is it Morgan Freeman in both of them? I mean, I can't even remember now.
It's all the same.
And why is he always the president?
Yeah. I mean, you think about it, Deep Impact. He was the president.
Oh, yeah.
He always plays the president.
Or God. He plays God, too.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah.
I believe he is more on the dark side than on the God side.
You know, the thing is, he's been indoctrinated. They're running him. I'll share a little something with you that happened to me when I was in Los Angeles back in the. It's been a long time now. But this agent that I had was talking with a fellow that I've been friends with for many years. His name's Scott, and Scott was down talking to Steve. This is a guy who was Don LaFontaine, the famous movie trailer guy, the Mr. Inner World. This was his agent. And I'd had an extraordinarily successful voiceover career and had never considered going back to any kind of presentation on a mass level, such as a radio program, let alone a big syndicated one. Which, again, I go back to the Lord. It's like the chances of just walking in with no talk show experience whatsoever and going immediately to Coast AM, the chances of that happening are zero. Mm. But it still happened. But Scott's talking to Steve, and Steve's kind of just sort of musing to himself, and yet somehow he's speaking out loud. He was talking about me to Scott. And he says he's already had a career. It's lasted all these years, and he's already made a lot of money. What a shame. And I thought, now that's an odd thing to say, until I got into it a little deeper. What it meant was we can't control him, and therefore we can't use him.
Oh.
I didn't get it back then, but I do now. Morgan Freeman, what made me think of that was what you said about Morgan Freeman. You either get with the program when you're out there, or you're not going to work. That's all there is to it. There are a few exceptions. Eastwood's one of them, but he's been around for so long that, they can't really deny him because the whole world knows him.
Well, not only that, but he's also a director.
Yeah, but look, there's John Voight. It's interesting that he and James Woods wound up on a show called Ray Donovan. But both of those guys, Woods and John Voight, are pretty hardcore constitutional Republicans. Yes. And they do not approve of what is happening. They see what's happening, so they're virtually blackballed. James Woods says, "I'll probably never work in Hollywood again."
I like James.
Yes.
Well, he's super duper smart.
Yeah,
I like him too.
He's a smart guy, and he's a real serious cat. And John Voight, he does a brilliant job playing this horrible recidivistic criminal named Mickey Donovan in this series. They're working on their 4th series now. Should be released before long, but.
Yeah, I like Ray Donovan. It's a good show.
Oh, do you watch it? Cool.
Oh, yeah.
I asked this Hollywood guy one time, says, "There's something wrong with me that I like Ray Donovan?" And he just laughed, that's all. But the thing is that those guys wouldn't let anybody run him. Burt Reynolds wouldn't let anybody run him. They're whenever you see somebody that say, "Didn't he have a pretty good career? What happened to him?" He wouldn't play ball. He wouldn't play the game.
Yeah.
That's right. And if you know too much and you don't want to be a part of what they are doing, they'll take you out. I mean, not just not let you work, but they will get you off of this earth.
People overdose all the time out there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we all know that Prince has been in the news lately and that he has overdosed, this and that, but he was one of them that spoke out against the Illuminati and the things that were going on out there. I knew it was just a matter of time. And now they're saying, well, he overdosed.
So now, well, the latest thing they said is that AIDS finally got him.
Oh, I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, so they've thrown out enough stories to where everybody's thoroughly confused, and now what they're going to do is they're going to forget about it. That's the idea.
Yeah, well, they've been doing that for years, though. I mean, that one guy that one movie was based on, Kill the Messenger, that broke the story about the CIA and all them bringing in the drugs into the country. Didn't he supposedly shoot himself in the head twice?
Yeah, and it was a suicide. What was his name? Gary Webb.
Yeah, Gary Webb.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
a lot
that's a
of
true
them.
story. Look what happened to Hastings.
Oh yeah, I mean look at what happened to Philip Marshall. I mean, he supposedly killed his two kids, the dog, and then shot himself. And what was that? Yeah, Hastings. That's another prime example. I mean, we could just sit here and go on and on about all the bizarro deaths that people that were speaking out against the establishment.
Well,
Yeah,
so
it was pretty
many.
weird going on to Coast and saying after Michael Hastings got killed, I remember coming on the program and going, well, that's two.
Yeah,
because Philip Marshall, I had interviewed him. I knew Philip Marshall pretty well, and I didn't see depression, anger, issues, nothing. He was so delighted. He would call me up and go, man, thanks so much for having me on the program, as if I was calling all the shots. I wasn't really, but wanted to get him back. And
who was the one guy that just did the documentary or the movie called Gray State that supposedly he offed himself and killed his wife?
Oh yeah. He was a veteran, wasn't he?
Yeah, and that's what's that. I mean, you start looking at all these, and like Hastings, right after Hastings supposedly crashed his car and killed himself. I mean, that's when Forbes and a bunch of other companies started coming out, and they started proving beyond a shadow of a doubt that you could hack any car. You could hack these cars and control the steering, control the accelerator, the brakes, everything.
You really can. You can only do that on cars that are equipped with like what the Mercedes has. It's called Distronic.
Mm-hmm.
And if you turn that thing on, it will sense the presence of another car. I've driven one of those cars. It swerves and puts its brakes on and everything on. And you're going, what's going on? And you go, oh, I'd say it detected that car there, thought I was overtaking it too fast. So it just put the brakes on itself and then pulled into the next lane because its sensors indicated it was okay to pull into the next lane. It's just bizarre.
Ew.
So, yeah, there's no doubt that you can control a car remotely.
Yeah.
You can.
And
Absolutely.
some of those suicides, they've been shot twice in the head and from the back of the head. But no one can explain that. Oh, it's still
Well, I think that happened to Vince Foster, didn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, and Phil Schneider. Remember Phil Schneider?
Yep. And then how about the guy that was shot 8 times in the head with a nail gun up in Colorado? He was a banker or something up there. That was a suicide, too. I'll tell you, that's one determined suicide if you can shoot yourself in the head 8 times with a nail gun.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, apparently they think the American public is pretty stupid and they can just do whatever they want. So, but
yeah, they think their dumbing down is working, and it's not on everyone.
There's a guy I like that does a lot of work illustrating the gullibility of the American people. His name is Mark Dice. You probably know who he is.
Oh yeah, I know Mark Dice.
Yeah, I mean he's a cool guy, and I talked to him I guess yesterday, and it's like, Mark, I really like what you're doing. However, when these things go on YouTube, they go all over the world. And so we're looking like a bunch of idiots to a lot of people all over the world. Maybe this will shame us into straightening up our act to where you can go out and talk to people who have some real brilliance to bring to the party rather than just signing up for the Holocaust beach party or be willing to sign the petition to adopt Obama's infanticide program so the parents can relieve themselves of the burden of the children up to age 3. And these people are signing it, and they'll go, let me have a birthday there next to it. They write their birthdays down. Of course, their identities could be, stolen immediately with a name and a birthday. So, I mean, on the one hand, it's like...
Whoever thought that we would actually see the day where somebody would write the name of somebody in chalk on a college campus and people would be crying hate speech? Who thought we'd ever see that day?
Well, their indoctrination is working. I'm afraid I have been observing this slow burn for a long time. I would almost be embarrassed to tell you how many decades, but I can tell you before the 80s. So it's been very, very effective. They have accomplished exactly what they have intended to do, because these people are very, very patient. They understand that you cannot rock the boat. You have to just kind of gently push it away from the dock, slip the mooring rope off, and then just push off and just kind of let the current catch it. And now the boat is floating and is making progress in the water. You can't just grab the oars and make a bunch of noise and just start doing the galley ship thing. Okay, everybody start rowing now, and the guy's beating on the drum. That's going to attract too much attention. They have been very, very clever in doing this. And the other part of the problem is they have lots of concrete holding cells, lots of FEMA camps, lots of guys who are willing to do their job to restore order. And, they've got a bunch of people that will obey them mindlessly in arms.
I've seen the videos of the undercover video where they were basically the soldiers were sitting there in a meeting with the FEMA people or whatever stuff, and basically the guy was asking, like if the thing hits the fan, are we going to actually go and disarm the people like they were doing down there and was it Katrina or whatever and stuff? And the guy was like, well, we're not, they will. And he was talking about the FEMA people. And
many of them are aliens. They're not even from here.
Well, that's another part of the plan, too. They want to get the UN in here because they will have no empathy with us whatsoever. And they will rape, and they will shoot, and they will loot, and they will pillage, and they will do whatever they want, and there will be no accountability whatsoever because it'll be a multinational force. And even if you do bring somebody up on charges, it'll be so complicated it'll take forever until people forget, and then it'll just go away. I mean, that's what they plan on doing. Everywhere the UN goes, chaos follows with them.
That's why I tell people if you see blue helmets walking up to your front door, you shoot first and ask questions later.
Yeah, don't shoot at the body armor either.
No, headshot.
You know what I'm saying? It's just like, do I want to do any of that? No. Do I think that the killing of a human being is a disgusting, tragic, and pathetic thing? Yes. Even if they deserve it? Yes. It's sad. It's wrong. There's something about the killing of a person that is not normal. That is why most people who when they kill somebody, whether it's a cop or a homeowner or somebody who rents that got attacked but they're carrying legal, a soldier, whatever, you shoot somebody and you kill them, you throw up if you're normal. If you're not normal, you don't.
Yeah, but that's the thing is, people are it's eventually gonna come down to it where people are gonna have to protect themselves and their families. It's like the whole thing with the police no-knock raids. I mean, if you, a lot of times when they go and they serve these no-knock raids, they go to the wrong houses. And, that's why sometimes these police officers get shot, because if you're asleep and at 3 a.m, you hear your front door get busted in, I mean, that's your first thing is to jump up, grab a gun, and, see what's going on.
Well, look at that little baby that they threw what is it, like a flash grenade?
Yeah, they threw a flash grenade in the crib, and they were at the wrong house.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it landed right there in the crib, and the baby got severely burned. And
what really people off so bad about that is the sheriff was on the news the next day laughing about it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's very funny. And just like those cops that beat that kid, Kelly Thomas, to death up there in California.
Oh, yeah.
However, that big guy, that big Mexican cop, I don't remember what his name was or is, he goes to a Denny's, and the people inside the restaurant just told him, "Get out of here. We don't want to eat around a murderer. Just get out of here." And he did. However, when he beat the rap in the courtroom, he did turn around and wink at somebody over his shoulder. There was somebody caught him in a photograph on that, I believe. So, but here's something else that's disturbing. The CIA is now conducting warrantless raids inside the United States. CIA is not allowed to conduct any activities inside the United States. But they can if there's an FBI guy with them, which is why I think the FBI and CIA are kind of cross with each other, because I think the FBI is getting tired of being thrown under the bus and being put in a position to clean up after CIA when they pull some nonsense inside U.S. borders.
Well, I mean, this all ties in with the NDAA. I mean, that's the whole thing is now they can go and take anybody and disappear you, and they don't have to have any charges against you. You don't have any right to habeas corpus or anything.
Well, yeah, and if somebody gets grabbed and they're taken away, and then in a movie-like fashion, friends and family bind together and they decide to find out what happened to Jim. We're going to find out what happened to him. So they go after him, and there's a lot of turmoil as you go along the path. But in the end, they find out that, well, Jim's not alive and hasn't been for a while. And there's nothing that anybody's going to do about it. The worst thing that could happen is somebody could be embarrassed, lose their job, or when they're up for election next time, a senator or whatever, their career's over and that's the end of them. But as far as meeting a punishment that would actually fit the crime, that's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen because, they're in that. Hillary Clinton, certainly she and Bill, I'm pretty sure have committed enough criminal acts to warrant being in prison, but that's never going to happen. It's just not going to happen. The only way that kind of justice is going to be meted out is if we have a French-style revolution. And it's not really practical to do such a thing because look at the huge number of people who are involved now. I mean, look what a big deal Ferguson, Missouri turned into, and then it was Baltimore. Cincinnati's got its problems too.
And I mean, a lot of that stuff is actually they are creating these problems. That's the thing is George Soros has been busted I don't know how many times that he is the one who is paying these people to go out there and cause these problems in a lot of these places. I mean, Ferguson was a prime example.
Yeah, well, Soros was behind that. Soros is behind all this Black Lives Matter nonsense, And these people are so stupid, they don't even realize that white slavery, like real no-kidding slaves, you will do whatever. And if you die, it's no big deal.
Yeah.
That was going on way before any kind of black slavery. That was rampant in England.
The original slaves and stuff that were coming over here actually were white. I mean, that's the thing. A lot of people don't even realize that America was the first penal colony. Long before Australia became a penal colony, the United States was.
No one was treated worse than the Irish.
Oh no, and that's why I said, it's like back in the early days of the Irish slaves. I mean, Irish slave typically went for about 50 cents, and a black slave actually went for $7. So which one do you think was actually more likely to get beaten to death or whatever?
Oh, the white ones always got thrown under the bus first. That's well documented in historical accounts and records because black slaves were considered to be more valuable. They cost more money. It was a lot more trouble to get them here. I mean, there were a lot of middlemen along the way, and you got to pay the broker, you got to pay the ship captain, and you got to keep them alive on the way over. I mean, that's just the whole thing. It's like the Caucasians have been put in the position of looking like the victimizers when they were actually the victims, and not unlike black slavery. Well, it was other blacks that sold black people through their Arab brokers to wherever they were headed, whoever was going to buy them and wherever they were going. In the same way, the English, anybody that had any money or any position of any kind, or any respectable person who could afford slaves, well, they were completely above the law. Well, who facilitated white slavery? Other white people. Who facilitated black slavery? Black people. It's just the way it is.
And like you're hitting on right here, I mean, that's the thing is a lot of people don't know the actual history. That's the thing is you've not been taught the true history in school. I mean, for crying out loud, you still got people that actually believe that the Civil War was all about slavery. And it's like it had nothing to do with slavery. It had to do with the two tariffs, and they were being taxed beyond belief. And when it comes down to it where you can't even make a living wage, that's why the South wanted out. They did not want to be part of the United States anymore. They wanted out. And when Lincoln sent those soldiers across those state lines, he declared war on the southern states.
And everyone thinks Lincoln was in favor of freeing the slaves, but actually Lincoln was one of the biggest racists that was ever elected to the presidential office.
Yeah. Yeah, this whole thing of racism, that's a relatively new word. People think that Trotsky invented it, but it actually predates Trotsky. And the thing is, all it means is, all racism really is the desire to protect your borders, your language, and your culture, as Michael Savage says. And that's all. It has nothing to do with your race being superior to any other race. that it's morphed into that definition, but that's not really what it means. It just means that you want to speak your dialect, you want to maintain your customs, you want to maintain your culture, and you want to maintain your way of life. That's it. If those guys over there want to do it a different way, that's fine. But we, the Swedes or the Norwegians or whoever, the Italians, whomever, we want to do it this way. That's racism. Now it means you hate black people or you hate brown people. I'm telling you, there are no answers outside of Scripture. There are no answers that will satisfy you as to what is really going on in your world and what powers are at play here. You will not find a work of any kind that will satisfy your desire to get the answers to your questions other than the Holy Bible. It's all in there. You have to study it. You read a sentence and you think, well, this is really flowery language. I don't really get it. But somebody who's devoted enough time to understand what those passages mean can give you a different interpretation that you go, well, it was right there the whole time, and I didn't see it that way. It's like, well, that's why Bible study is important. That's why they have elders. That's why people devote their lives to study. I mean, it started off in Greek, and then it got translated into Latin or vice versa. I think it was Greek first. So, I mean, and it originated in Hebrew, of course. So have you ever played telephone? It's possible that by the time you've gone through 3 ancient languages and you get it into English, there may be a little wiggle room there, but not enough to prejudice the value of the book by any stretch of the imagination, since English is a derivative of all of these different languages. We got German and French and all kinds of blood in the English language, which, when properly used, is the most descriptive language on earth. But it's not being used correctly. I'll throw one more at you. Graduate students, people coming out of university with PhDs, use no more than about 3,200, 3,300 words in their vocabulary. William Shakespeare wrote with either, I can't remember if it was 11,000. I think it was 11,000 words, and Homer was 8,000. The numbers may be off a little bit, but not much. Well, when's the last time you ran into anybody who has a 10,000 word vocabulary? How about never? So that's what's happened. Things have it's continual. Here you go. Here goes Wells on his preaching. It's idolatry. All of it is idolatry. We buy cars that are representative of ourselves. They've even got little faces that look like people. They got 2 headlights. They got a little mouth for a grill. Oh, look at that one. That one looks mean. Oh, look at that one. That one looks like a mom and pop mobile. Oh, well, they all do the same thing. So what is this? We build monuments to ourselves, big ones and little ones. We have so closed ourselves in to our pathetic little temporary material experience here that we have completely shut out, for the most part, the source of all of this, and our responsibility to look beyond what we've fashioned with our hands and look at what is behind any capability to fashion anything with our hands. Mm-hmm. But people are coming back around because my feeling is that the big battle's coming. And it will be a battle that will be very difficult to describe, if possible at all, before it actually happens. But it will be terrible, and it will be amazingly cleansing, most unpleasant for the majority of the people on the planet. They won't understand what's happening to them or why it's happening to them. But somebody knows.
And that's where you get into the spiritual realm.
Well, that's it. I mean, who could make up the thing? Seriously, you take the best screenwriters and the best writers, period, of books, fiction or nonfiction, either one, and you tell me that what combination of those people would it take to come up with some of the, with most of virtually anything that you can read in Scripture? I mean, the simplest one is Solomon saying, listen, there's nothing new under the sun. Don't you get it? Everything that's going to be done has already been done. Everything that's going to be has already been. There's nothing new. Is there anything you can say, look, this is new? It's already been from ancient times. That's it.
And that's why God tells us to go back to the beginning if we want to understand the Bible.
Well, and not only that, but the worst part is Solomon also goes on to say, and by the way, we don't remember history. We just keep doing it. So that's where we are right now, and I think the wheel has just spun around, and it's about to hit, like the Wheel of Fortune, it's about to hit, bankrupt. You're out.
Yes.
Sorry. But you have one more spin. Say, you get the $1 million in gold and the new car, which looks just like you. Hey,
How close do you think we are to the financial collapse, John?
Well, it's interesting you can say that. I don't think we're as close to the financial collapse as people think, in the
here.
way that they think it's going to occur. What they think it's going to be is a la Greece, or one of these countries where, oh, wow, they're limiting my ATM withdrawals and all of this. Apparently there was a secret meeting in April with some bankers there in New York, and they are digitizing cash. So nothing's going to happen. The financial system is going to collapse, all right. But what I really believe at this moment, subject to changing my mind when new data comes online, I believe your financial collapse is going to be when it flips from paper money and physical money to digital money. When that happens, I'll tell you why. This sounds like I'm going off the trail, but I'm really not. I just saw a story today about some British tourists who wanted to go to Florida, and they booked all this, all their accommodations, everything. They were ready to go, and they were meeting family, and it was going to be a big deal. Well, they wouldn't let them come into the country. You know why? Because they don't have a biometric passport.
Oh.
So they had to go back. They had to get on the next plane and go back. Now, what happens when you have to have biometric identification to participate in the new digital world? Is that the mark of the beast? Probably. Do I think most people will take it? You bet. The same thing that I believe that most people, when the shamag and burqa-wearing morons show up with their AKs and say, reject your Christ and we will let you live. You must follow Muhammad and Allah. I predict most people will swear to God that they were never Christians.
I've even
Just like
heard
a whole
people
bunch of them
say
swearing
that.
to God they were never cops, too, or CIA, or FBI. It's going to be a mess of literally biblical proportions. It has to go this way because they're playing with mechanisms and protocols that are too powerful. And once they are fully unleashed, there's going to be a huge portion of the population that's not going to go for it, and they're going to create their chaos. There's going to be government blowback for that, so there's more chaos. And then they're the ones on the sidelines wondering, what are we going to do? And that's going to be their own little individual hellish chaos. So this thing's wrapping up. I mean, there's too much. They've built more horsepower than the engine will withstand. I mean, does that work as sort of an analogy? I really believe that.
That's a great analogy.
Now, do we all just, but do we all just freak out? No. No. Don't freak out. Don't go off. Be quiet. Be still. Go to your Bible.
Amen.
Get your head out into the light while you still have time. You don't have much time. You don't.
John, did you catch the story about Warren Buffett actually talking about taking his $60 million out of the bank and putting it into his own vault in his house?
Yeah, well, he's liable to have a vault full of worthless paper.
Well, I think he's actually talking about converting it over to gold and silver and other precious metals.
Well, why not?
Yeah.
And even who's that fellow? I can't call it. Greenspan, former director of the Fed. He's like, I don't really want to say anything, but yeah, a little gold and silver might not be a bad idea.
That's, when you got people like Warren Buffett and some of these others that are talking about taking their money out of the banks, that usually tends to let people know that something's coming down the pipes.
Yeah, pretty quick. Yeah, I was telling Chad, I think it was yesterday or the day before, I received my new bank card. And my other bank cards don't expire till 2017. But this one they sent me was a chipped one. And it said that I had to activate it because my other bank cards were no longer going to be, there's a certain amount of time. And I thought, I'm not going to do that. But then I'm thinking, well, what am I going to do? I won't have access to my money, and they're going to have the ability to take it all. All I do is keep my bank or bill money in there, but it's just the idea. It's being forced upon us little by little.
Well, yeah, and in the digital realm, they'll just take the money. They won't freeze your account. They'll just take the money out of it, because with the click of a mouse, they can put it right back in if they want to. So they'll just empty your account.
Mark Russo actually talked about that. He said that was it David Rockefeller had actually told him that that's what they planned on doing.
I have no doubt. There's a black market for just about everything, and that'll be another little bit of the chaos. Oh, it'll be illegal and all that, but a lot of people are going to be completely unwilling to just change everything so that this new digital currency, that's the only thing that they can do. Look, this has been the plan the whole time, is to go to digital currency. This has been envisaged for many decades.
Well, it's something, too, that, again, we go back to the Bible. We were told
because
this.
Look what they've done with the interest. Look at, what is it, $400 and something trillion in global debt. 400 trillion. That's a lot of paper notes.
Yeah, I think it's closer to 450 trillion, but still.
Yeah, there you go. And we're pushing up. Aren't we over 19 now?
Oh yeah,
we are.
Just in this country.
It more than tripled since Obama took office.
Well, that's why they got a guy that nobody knows. And say, how about that correspondence dinner last Saturday? Did you see Larry Wilmore say, "Barry, my N-word, you get it," and bumps his chest with his fist after absolutely just deconstructing the dinosaur media? He actually refers to Obama as my neighbor. Let's put it that way, okay? Barry, my neighbor. Barry, you get it, my neighbor. You get it. And he's doing that kind of Roman fist against right fist against left side of chest, right fist on left pec. Seriously,
wow.
A comedian refers to the president as my neighbor, and he didn't say neighbor.
Well, Jamie Foxx called him, was it Jesus or God, at that one dinner?
Yeah. It's
ugly.
It's almost a joke. It's like watching that idiot Zuma, the president of South Africa, try and pronounce a 6-digit number or a 7-digit number. This guy, he says like 1152. He says stuff like that. And you look at this and you go, if it weren't so tragic, this would be funnier than Amos and Andy ever thought of being. This guy is a moron. Well, who put him in there? The people who want to push global communism all over the world, and they did it too. And they did it the same way that they're doing it here. And look, if this sounds racist, too bad. Just put a big R on my forehead and just send me down the road, with my rebel flag and the back side of my pants shredded. Okay, fine. But here's the thing. These stupid people don't know that they're stupid. When you don't know your history, you just think that you're the only race on earth that's ever been a slave, well, you're ignorant. Once you're shown that that's not the case, you're shown the truth of the matter, and you cling to it, what you believe, despite being shown the truth, you're stupid. And stupid is permanent. And stupid is violent. Stupid has no mercy. Stupid knows only one emotion: hatred. Hatred that comes from jealousy over this imagined inequality. They're doing the same thing here that they're doing over there. Look at the Middle East. What a paradise, right? So let's go ahead and let's import that culture into a largely European culture. And Lord knows those countries, France and Spain and Germany and England, they've been going at each other for centuries, and they finally calmed down. Two wars were enough. And even in World War II, France was split between Free France and Vichy France. They couldn't even sort it out then. Vichy supported the Germans, okay? So now here we go. Let's bring in all these sub-Saharan Africans. Okay, fine. Let's bring in a whole bunch of Middle Easterners. Okay. Now let's bring in a whole bunch of Mexicans, too. Well, what's the matter with them? Take a look on the other side of the border. They have nothing. Why not? The country has all kinds of natural resources, minerals, farming, coasts. What's the problem? Government. Oh, gotcha. What's the deal with the government? A few families run the whole thing. And if you criticize it, by the way, you're going to take a one-way boat ride out into the ocean there, and you will not be coming back, okay? That's just how it is. What they're doing is in the same way that they destroyed South Africa. They put those kids, starting at 18 years old, you had to go into conscription for 2 years. That's it. You finish what we call high school, you go in for 2 years. Do you think they got sick of seeing their 18-year-olds all shot to hell and sent back in a bag? You bet they did. What was happening? Communist invasion. Who financed it? Russia. Why you say that? Those were Russian AK rifles they're carrying and the ammo that feeds them. Duh. The ANC, nothing but the Communist Party in blackface. Nelson Mandela, the great hero, murderer, communist. That's what they're doing here. Now they put Barry Obama in there, or whatever his name really is, Barry Soetoro, whatever. Again, the comedian called him Barry, my neighbor. You get it. At the correspondence dinner. It's a big deal, black tie dinner.
Yeah, and
this guy talks like that. So now we're having this country invaded by a bunch of illiterate, no skill, in many cases criminal. Just bring them in, bring them in. And our government is aiding and abetting this. Not going to be any reporting. No, don't stop them at the border. No, do not deport them. If you've arrested them, you must let them go. Well, they don't have any documents. You let them go anyway. Mm-hmm. This is the Department of Justice calling. You will do what we say, or you won't have a job. That sounds just like, well, I let them go because I was only following orders. It's the same thing we've never learned. And this country is being destroyed, and it's being destroyed by an invasion of people who bring one thing to the party, need, and nothing more. And if they don't get it, they're going to get mad. Okay? But what they don't realize is, as soon as their purpose is served, they're going to get thrown under the bus too. How is it possible that these Mexicans can run around? We are La Raza. We are the race. Now, they got a real problem with a Ku Klux Klan meeting where a bunch of people dress up in put their masks and put their white suits on and go out there and burn a cross, which is not desecration of the cross. It's to make a flaming cross of Christ. They're a little deluded, but that's what they do. But, here we go. We need to annihilate these people. But these Mexicans can run around all over the place with La Raza bumper stickers. They got a radio station over in Dallas named called La Raza. They got all this going on, and nobody says a thing. Why is that? Where's all the great, what, same sauce for the goose as the gander? No, sorry. The goose gets this sauce, and the gander gets the other sauce. And if you don't like it, you're a racist. You're this, you're that, you're a bigot, you're crazy, you're a psychopath, you're a sociopath. They start the ridicule and the name calling, and then people just go, okay, I don't want to be called this. I'll just withdraw from the field of battle, otherwise known as referred to as I'll withdraw from the argument. I don't want to subject myself to this kind of abuse. It's insane. You know how many people have been killed white people have been killed in South Africa in the last 20 years? How about 70,000? 70,000. I know people. I did a cigarette contract with that country for 16 years. I went over there all the time. I saw it slide. And where it is right now is they put signs up like the next man who blows himself up by improperly operating this panel will be fired. Oh, so he's not only going to get electrocuted, but he's also going to be fired. This is not a joke. This is really happening. There's a public service announcement that's going around about how you can avoid Ebola. Wash your hands. Don't get any poo on your hands and then get it to your face or your eyes or your mouth. And you should limit the eating of bats and monkeys. Now, people go, you just hate black people. It's like, no, I don't. This is what's really going on over there. And so, Chad, sorry, you're white. You don't get to have that job. You don't have a job. And by the way, that pension that you have, you can pretty much forget about that. You may get some of it, but it's going to be a while before you get any. And you can go now, because what they're going to do is the economic freedom fighters are going to bring in a black guy, because, Chad, you stole the land, right? You stole it. This country's been here 300 years, but never mind that. You are a member of the race that stole this land. And therefore, we're going to put a black guy in your position, and that's it. Leave. And the white people are winding up in squatter camps. Look just like the Grapes of Wrath with Fonda, Henry Fonda, the old black and white movie. That's just what it looks like. And people over here are so spoiled, poop for brains, clueless. They have no idea. They don't know what's going on in the world today. They don't know their history. They don't know their heritage. They don't know anything except what they see on TV. And
John,
that's pretty much it.
there was a woman that you had on from South Africa, and I've watched that episode several times. I'm sorry her name slips me, but she lives there, and she gave such an accurate portrayal.
Are you talking about Brendy Richards?
Yes, that's
Yep.
her.
I got one more stat for you. Black people that died as a direct result of apartheid from 1948 to 1994. You ready?
Ready.
7,000. That's it. 7,000. They probably ran over more people with their cars in that period of time per year than what occurred over 60 years. So,
That's
yeah,
amazing.
she still does her the Truth About South Africa blog, and I recommend that people go to it and read. If they want to know what's really happening, go there. That's what I always say on Caravan-to-Midnight. The first question you need to ask yourself before you become a member, which of course we hope you do because you enable us to do stuff like send camera crews up to Hartford and Newtown with Wolfgang Halbig to document everything that's going on in that ridiculous farce that whole Sandy Hook thing is such an absolutely intolerable joke. It almost makes me mad when I think about it. But I'll tell you one of the things real quickly that was caught on our cameras.
What?
Wolfgang Halbig's lawyer asked the first selectman, without the first selectman's approval, nothing gets done in Newtown. Doesn't matter what the mayor thinks or anything else, the first selectman calls the shots. Question was, when was that sign that said everyone must check in? When was that placed by the driveway of the Sandy Hook School? And the first selectman, who's a woman, says 3 days before the incident. And the next question is, well, who placed it there? And she said, well, the Department of Homeland Security. And everybody in the room goes, big, deep, labored inhalation. Mm-hmm. And we recorded that. But here's the thing. The first question you have to ask yourself before you join our program is, do you really want to know? Because if you don't, this is probably not for you. This ain't woo-woo. This ain't Bigfoot. This ain't rainbows, and this ain't unicorns. No. These are people who have devoted their lives to coming on the program. We let them sit there and talk and say whatever they want. We don't say, well, you can't say Obama. Well, you can't say this. I mean, I got so sick of that with Premier Radio Networks. It's like I was so ready to get out of there, and they did me a huge favor by saying bye-bye. Because I loved doing the show. It was so much fun. The people were great. The callers were great. The guests were great. But there was a lot of restraint put on what we can say and what we can't. I finally had to tell somebody over there, I'll just leave him out of it for now. If you don't want his name brought up, Obama, quit booking people who say his name. Mm-hmm. I'm not a puppeteer, and I'm not going to tell him, you can't say that. You have to respect our president, because I don't respect him. As a matter of fact, he's making it difficult for me to even respect the office, let alone the occupant of the office. So there, I'm kind of a hard case, but it's like I've just had enough. You know what I mean? It's like either say it and get it said now, or don't. And if you don't, live with it.
Well, people don't address the president like we used to. It used to be President Carter or President Reagan or even up to Bush, I believe. But now the president is only titled by his last name. It was like that with, what is it, George W., the son?
Yeah, George W.'s the son.
Yeah, he was known by George W. or Bush. And now
or
we have
just W.
Yeah.
Well, I noticed that usually you get president in front of President Carter like he's some sort of a big deal, big loser. But it was always Bush this and Bush that and Bush the other. But it was president. If it was a Democratic president, oh, well, then that's President Carter or President Clinton.
And now there's no president attached to it unless it's a write-up. I mean, even in mainstream news, I mean, I try to avoid it. But you hear on there, it will be usually just the last name. And there's no respect that goes with that title anymore.
Well, I mean,
it's
can't blame them for having no respect. I mean, that's the thing is, it's hard to respect people that you don't agree with anything that they stand for or say or do.
Yeah, respect gets respect. And none of the American people are respected unless you have all those zeros that can be put after your name.
Well, they don't care about the American people. It's all about power and making money. That's all these, I mean, all these lobbyists down there that are pushing these laws, and it's all about money and power. I mean, they don't listen. I mean, look at what's been going on with the presidential race. It's like, I'm so glad that people are finally starting to wake up and realize that the whole election cycle is just a big farce, a big joke, because now it's so in your face. It's like you got to be a moron to believe that, your vote counts. And I've been saying this for years. It's like your vote does not count. In fact, if you go and vote, they can flip your vote to whoever they want it to count for, and it doesn't count to begin with. So you're wasting your time.
But the reason that information's gotten out, Chad, is because it's the same thing as what actually I did when I decided the Caravan wasn't going to have a Facebook page. What I was actually doing was, while I believed at the time that I made that decision, that it's like, okay, it's not just about our privacy, because this is about the show, but it's about the people's privacy who come on to the Facebook page. We might be putting their privacy in danger too. And then I thought, wait a minute. Wait. We're self-censoring is what we're doing, and that's what they want us to do. They've let us know that they're spying on us. Okay? If they wanted to keep that quiet, they could. All it takes is an NDA, with a government stamp on that says, if you say anything about this and you're going away, okay? Okay, I won't say anything. Okay, fine. They could have kept that hush-hush. They let us know that they're surveilling Facebook and all social media, so that we will self-censor. So I said, to hell with this. We're not doing that. We're going back on there. People are going to say what they want. So we'll just let them take a look, because that's what they fear. What they fear is that we talk about this stuff and that we pollute the minds of otherwise true believers in their nonsense into like going, wait a minute. I can think for myself. I want to think for myself. I do want to make my own decisions. I don't want to be a kept unit of the state. That's what they don't like. And by the same token, I do believe that our votes count. And I think that the reason that that all this information about our votes not counting is a way to get us to not show up. It's true. What you've said is true. They can manipulate the vote, but they've let us know that. If they can keep the UFO projects quiet, I'm pretty sure they can keep the capabilities of electronic voting. They can put out stories like, this is absolute triple 256 encryption. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's bust-proof. It's hack-proof. We got guys in deep underground bunkers that count this stuff. And, I mean, these are absolutely reliable. If they could have put that out just as easy, because they control the media. But instead it's, well, we're having trouble with these voting machines, It's like, oh, well, yeah. And Romney had 0 votes in several precincts around the Philadelphia area. That's a total impossibility that he got 0 votes. There's got to be one crazy in there somewhere that'd vote for him.
Well, that plus the whole delegate situation, the super delegates. I mean, it's like I said, it's all just a big joke. And I mean, there was a guy that came out on record who actually admitted he was the one who wrote the code that they are using on these voting machines. That's why everything went to digital voting machines, so that way it's like if everybody goes out and votes, let's say that 98% of people go out and vote for Trump, and let's say 2% go out and vote for Hillary. By the time that everything is said and done, when right before they tally the votes and they flip to they initiate the program or whatever stuff, it flips the votes to where Hillary wins by 51%.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's on record.
Good.
That's on record. I mean, the guy is actually standing there, giving his testimony. You can go on YouTube and watch it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All of these things have tentacles, don't they?
Oh yeah, like I said, I mean, a lot of people like to say, well, I'm a Republican or I'm Democrat. It's like, they may be, left and right, but they're still the two arms are still connected to the same body. They still serve the same people. That's the thing, is they only, it's a Hopkins choice. It's like if I give you A and B to choose from, and that's the thing, is I've selected A and B. Where's the choice? You have no choice.
Yep.
You got the illusion of choice and freedom and everything.
Yeah, and the thing is that they will do whatever they need to do. There's some really smart people up there that work out these algorithms, these things that change over time. And How about this? As long as we're just musing with what ifs. Putin supposedly just moved 3 divisions worth of troops up there on the border of the Balkan states. Okay, so what if the last play that they want to make is the threat or the real possibility of a world war with Russia? Russia doesn't want this, and the U.S. doesn't want this necessarily. But what if? What if they are really willing to take the world into a global war to save their own skins? Well, why wouldn't they? They've been cowardly in every other department. Why not this? Right? Mm-hmm. Well, in the meantime, how can we make that a little more fair for the other guys? Because we want the United States to go down. I know. What we'll do is we'll start firing anybody that we think has a little bit too much of a pro-American attitude. So they've fired countless captains, countless majors, countless colonels. The lieutenants are in there because they're still, they're junior grade officers. That's entry-level stuff. And now we've decommissioned ship after ship after ship after ship. They're talking about, I heard a story about some unit that's deployed with F-18 Hornets, and out of the 14 in his squadron, only 2 of them were operational, and they were taking parts off of a fixed static display of an F-18 Hornet because it's the only unit out there that actually had the parts they needed to get this one over here up and flying. Why is that happening? Because they're trying to downgrade the strength of the United States, make the playing field a bit more level in a game with Russia or even China. Up until Barack Obama's 2 terms, we were hanging in there pretty well, although we've been starting to stagger a little bit under the weight of the expense. And there has been not as much fielding of equipment and so forth because those wars over in, we already had built up a huge stockpile of stuff, and they sent it over to the Middle East. Well, what happened then? In the first Iraq thing, going to, get Saddam over his invasion of Kuwait, and then the second time that we go in there, he's firing scuds at Israel. Now, why would he want to do a thing like that? He didn't think that the United States was going to respond or what? It wouldn't surprise me at all if Saddam Hussein was still alive or just died recently. Do you know, none of those acts that were done over there really make any sense. We know there were no weapons of mass destruction. What did they do with all the gear that they sent over there? They left it there. In whose hands did it wind up? ISIS. And who formed ISIS? Well, ISIS is an offshoot of Al-Qaeda. All right. And who formed Al-Qaeda? Well, CIA did, pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, you got Hillary on record admitting all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was left there on purpose. All those weapons, everything, the tanks, it was done on purpose.
Yeah, Boko Haram has kidnapped 300 girls. Let's go get our girls. Let's go send special forces. Anybody ever hear anything of that? You know what really happened to Boko Haram? You want me to tell you?
Yeah.
The white badasses of the South African Defense Forces went and annihilated Boko Haram. That's what happened. That's who took out Boko Haram. So there you go. If you don't believe me, you can look it up. Go to the Truth About South Africa and check it out.
The guy that is running South Africa right now, to me, the way he is doing things is almost like a clone of Obama. Exactly, except they just don't look alike, but they could pass for clones.
Well, it's textbook stuff. This is how you do it.
Well, isn't his brother one of the head honchos over there of the Muslim Brotherhood?
Yes.
That's what I was thinking.
I'm not sure it's his half brother. But it's somebody in his family. I can't remember at this moment.
Is he the one that they did the documentary on, Chad?
What documentary?
They sent an American team over, and they had found Obama's half brother or brother. And they did a whole interview on him, and he said, yeah, but this guy was living at that time in horrendous living conditions. I mean...
Yeah, that's his half-brother, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So is he the one now that is in control?
No, it's another guy.
It's another guy, but his brother over there he's one of the head honchos of the Muslim Brotherhood.
Yeah, but that's his actual brother. This other guy living in poverty is his half-brother. Isn't that the way it goes?
Yeah, exactly.
Because I don't know. I'm asking you.
I believe so on the poverty part, because that's what had me wondering is how did he get from there to being in the elite position?
Yeah, I got one more for the white folks if you want to hear it. You know what the half-brother said? The saddest thing that happened to Kenya is the white people left. That's what he said. See, what they don't understand, what these people don't understand, is that the white South Africans looked after the blacks. They were starving to death. There was intertribal warfare and all of that. They fled to the South for help. It's like, okay, wait. Now we're going to have to keep your culture. You can still do all your tribal stuff, because there's going to be a problem if we start mixing our cultures. There's going to be a problem. You don't want to abandon your culture. We don't want to abandon our culture. So look, we'll look after you, but it's got to be done in a controlled way. That's what it was about. They did not hate those people. Those white South Africans did not hate black people. They knew they were in Africa. Black people are here. They get it. They're mostly Dutch. And some of the English decided, to hell with England. I'm joining the Dutch. And they did. They gave up title, they gave up position, they gave up money and everything else because they knew the Brits were wrong, and the Brits caused more damage and more chaos in South Africa than the Afrikaners ever did, including starving women and children in concentration camps. I repeat, the British starved to death thousands upon thousands of white women and children in concentration camps. But you're not going to find that being taught at UC Berkeley, or UC Davis, where that idiot who, while he was in jail, invents this BS holiday called Kwanzaa. I mean, it's time for people to just get over their guilt and just decide, look, this is our culture, this is our deal. Either fit in or bleep off, one of the two.
Well, I mean,
Seriously.
people just need to get over this whole political correctness nonsense. I mean, that's the thing is, that's what the people in power actually prey on is us, all these divisional issues, whether it be politics, religion, race, whatever. That's the thing is people like George Soros and all the rest of them, they prey on that. That's the thing is we are all the same. It's like, what do we really have against one another? It's like nothing. It's like, if anything, we got more against the government than anything because they are the ones that are playing and manipulating and doing all this. And it's like, people just need to wake up and realize that, we're being played against one another.
Well, sure we are. And look, how is it? Let's take the condition of black people in this country. Anything improved for them since Obama came to office? Even that old gal that was so funny in her YouTube
the Obama phone
video
lady
went viral about everybody got Obama phone. She went on Alex Jones's show and told them, boy, did we ever get played.
Well, yeah, he brought her down to Austin and gave her a job.
Did he? I didn't know that. That's funny.
Yeah, he got her a job and got her a place to live, and she goes, I am so happy now. She's like, y'all need to stop listening to these people. Y'all need to, it's better to have a job and be able to take care of yourself and not be dependent.
Mm-hmm.
Look, here's the deal. Now, this may sound a little harsh for some, but I want you to get the meaning that I'm trying to impart here. When a black guy walks up to me and says, "Sir, could you spare me $1 or $2? I'm broke." I will ask him, "Let me ask you something, pal. Why don't you get a black guy to give you some money?" And he'll say, "There ain't no help from a black guy. There ain't no help." And I'll say, "Well, why is that?" "They don't want to, or they ain't got it." But just a couple of guys talking here, seriously, because I do this stuff, and I'm not kidding you either. I'll say, just a couple of guys talking here. No black guy, no white guy. Let's just put all that aside for a minute. What's the problem, bro? It's as though black people don't like white people at all. So let's just, and he starts shaking his head already, and I go, why are you asking of people that you don't like for money that you need that you can't get from a black guy? He goes, because that's not the way it is. We're not talking about useless people who can't think, that they're just different. And, oh, well, wait a minute, we've got to adjust our programming so that we can understand these black people. It's like, They're just people, and they've been played just like you have, Whitey. You've been played using this technique, and the black ones have been played using this technique. If it were not true, how is it that scum like Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton and Charlie Rangel still wind up continuously ad nauseum in positions of influence and power over the so-called black community?
Well, that's the thing, is that black people are actually waking up to this, because you remember back in Ferguson, they ran them out of town. They said, we don't want you here. They were straight. The guy was right in his face telling him, get out of here. We don't want you here. We don't want your help. We don't want nothing from you. Get. Well, that's the thing. What a lot of people aren't realizing, if you don't keep up with the news and, watch all this stuff, it's not just black people that are being shot out there. It's white people, Mexican people. They're shooting everybody. That's the thing, is it's gotten crazy out there. I mean, I don't even want to encounter the police, because, I mean, not that I hate the police or anything like that. I wouldn't want their job. But the thing is it's just crazy, crazy, crazy out there.
Well, and the thing is that there's an us and them mentality that is not only extant, but it's also encouraged.
Well, yeah, they're indoctrinated.
Us and them, man.
Academy.
Yeah, it's not good. I'm sorry, I got a jet going over. That's probably pretty loud. And it's almost gone. And then I want to pick on Jesse Ventura for a minute, because I talked to him at least once on Coast and twice on Caravan, and I got crossways with him over Ferguson. And I'm like, Jesse, why do you keep saying there should have been a trial? You got Holder's Justice Department down there looking for any excuse to make this into a big deal, and he can't find one, because this dumbass Michael Brown tried to take the cop's gun away from him. It went off in the car, and he runs off. There's blood in the car. I think it was Brown's. It might have been the cop, or both. He runs off down the street. The cop gets out of his car going, God, I've just had the stuff beat out of me practically by this giant kid. And he goes, stop. What does the guy do? Turns around and charges him again. People who said, no, he just gunned him down with his hands up. They said, well, we was lying. And they were. I said, so why are you saying there should have been a trial if you can't even get it past a grand jury? There still should have been a trial. What I did not ask him was this, and I've said this on my own program too. So you're a Navy SEAL, huh? Yeah. Ever been deployed? Ever fired a shot at anybody? Ever had anybody fire a shot at you? And what kind of a Navy SEAL wants open borders and legalized marijuana from coast to coast? Doesn't sound like any Navy SEAL I've ever talked to, and I have talked to one or two of them. You don't meet many, but I have met them. I do, and I know one somewhat well. We're semi-close acquaintances, but that's about it. We're not friends. Never been in the stuff together or anything. This guy doesn't talk like any kind of a Navy SEAL I've ever talked to. Never. But he goes out there, and he's kind of charismatic. He's an ex-wrestler, and he's the ex-governor of Minnesota and all this other stuff, and starts talking this stuff, and what happens? I go back to Obi-Wan Kenobi with his question, who's the bigger fool, the fool or the fool that follows him? Well, I'm thinking it's the fool that follows him, because he's even more of a fool than the fool. How many fools are following Jesse's lead? And I don't care if he hears this broadcast and gets mad. It's like, answer my questions. You ever been deployed? You ever been shot at? You ever shot at anybody? If not, shut up.
Amen.
You're going to run for president because you're going to get the 60% that don't vote. Quit smoking that pot down there in Mexico where, by the way, it's not legal. Mm-hmm. And then coming back up here and telling your so-called fellow Americans you believe in open borders and pot for everybody. Go take a run and jump in the lake. How about that, pal? If I ever get a chance, I'll tell him that to his face, and he will not whip my backside at all. No, that will not happen.
I am not a fan of
Jesse Jackson. I digress. I'm going
Jackson.
juvenile now, but I'm actually quite serious about it. It's like, don't bow up on me.
I'm not a fan of Jesse Jackson, and I am not a fan of Al Sharpton.
Idiots.
But I'm sorry, I've got to throw Jesse Ventura in there too.
Yeah.
I used to respect the man, but when everything hit about what Ventura did, when was he a Navy SEAL that was killed, and he went after the family after he died because he felt he was entitled to money?
Well, no, it wasn't necessarily.
He was just trying to clear his name, is what he said.
Yeah, he was just trying to clear his name because the the guy had slandered him in his book, and he just wanted his name cleared. Well, after the guy was killed, then he basically had to go through his wife to get his name cleared.
How dirty can you be? The wife didn't have anything to do with that, and here she is. She's left with her children, and it's her without her husband. I just felt it was really dirty, and I know that the other Navy SEALs did too.
First of all, let me ask a little question here. To me, a hero is, I know, like this South African guy, okay, who rode his horse to a sinking ship and rescued 13 people. He was working on the 14th person. It was either 14 or 12, but in any case, it was more than 10. And he lost his life, and his horse drowned, and he did not get the last person he'd had swum out there to get, okay? Mm-hmm. So a hero to me is not somebody. If the fireman brings a kitten down from the tree branch, he is, in fact, a little girl or little boy's hero. But let's get real here. A hero is not somebody who sits off at a range of a mile, blows somebody's head off with a 50 caliber rifle or with a 300 Winchester mag out of one of McMillan's rifles, okay? Right. That's not a hero to me. Sorry, a damn good rifleman? Absolutely. Is he a hero to some of the guys in his outfit that he saved? You bet. In the strictest sense of the word, did he put his own life at risk to say, Audie Murphy charging up the hill, most people don't even know who he is, with a 50 caliber machine gun, little guy, about 5'6", goes running up the hill with this machine gun, wipes out a couple of machine gun nests, saves a bunch of his people. That's a hero. I mean, this guy is toast. He's out there by himself. Well, okay, that's a hero. Shooting at somebody from a mile away, not so. How is it that Chris Kyle decides to, the official story is they befriended a guy with PTSD, and they decide to take this guy shooting? Really? Mm-hmm. And so he just unloads, right? And this guy's gone away. And now, as much as I like going rabbit, I do not understand why they named a section of Highway 287 after a sniper. I do not understand why we have Chris Kyle Highway. Would somebody straighten me out on that, please? Because I'm not happy about this. I got an idea. Name a highway after my grandmother. And in fact, of all the grandmothers of all of those related in my family, for the agony that they had to endure as the sons and the fruit of their wombs had to go off and fight the savage Japanese in a war that Franklin Delano scumbag Roosevelt concocted. Let's have a highway for the mothers and wives and daughters. Let's just stick with the women right now. Let's have a highway dedicated to them for the suffering that they endured having lost their men in a BS war concocted by some guy they don't know when their men folk were sent to whack out some other guys that they don't know. Let's have a highway for them. And screw all this dedicating highways to snipers in an undeclared war that makes money for corporate America. I'm not happy about this. Can you tell?
Yes.
Sorry.
It's not
I'll
right.
try and clean it up. I'll try and straighten up a little bit now, but I'm not happy about this.
You're fine.
I do not like the fact that this country has been hijacked by criminals, and it actually happened a long time ago, but we were in the building phase then, so it was easier for us to concentrate on our jobs and making livelihoods for our families and going forward to hand down something to our children so they could go forward. You know, to learn more and achieve more and build more. I kind of like that growth stage. But now that it's all built, well, we've got ourselves a big old casino, and we got the muscle to back up whatever we want to do. And not only that, we're in government. Nobody really even knows what we're doing. And we got the media. We can always feed them any line that we want them to buy. We'll just send it through our mass media, and it's a done deal. And we got lawyers in case we get in trouble. I mean, this is bad, and it's reaching its apex. It's reaching apogee, and pretty soon it's going to go into perigee.
Yeah, and we've let ourselves be set up for it.
And so, what's the solution? Sounds lame, but it's not. Pray, and pray hard.
I say go back
to what God said. Keep in mind, he hears you the first time. You don't have to say the same prayer over and over again. He heard you the first time.
You know, in the Bible, if we would follow exactly how God said that we were to run our communities, what the outcomes would be, and there would be more control within us, we would have no need to have the prisons that we have. And I don't think that we would have the crime rate nearly as high as what we do.
Yeah. I just say, Daddy, come home. Mama, don't go, like John Lennon wrote.
That's
true.
true.
I say, men, be faithful to your women or don't hook up with them to begin with. Wives, it's okay. Submit to your husbands and be his true helper. All he's going to do is worship you for it. Do you want that, or do you want what you have now? You can't do it all.
Mm-mm.
Figure out what your mission is. Sit quietly. Sit quietly and get to know yourself. And figure out what part of your life is real and what part of it isn't. Figure out what you're prepared to live with and what you're not prepared to live with. Be true to something. If you don't know how to do it, and you should do this in any case, go to Scripture and just read the first 10 chapters of Matthew. It won't hurt you. It won't even take you an hour to do it. Just sit down and read it. And if you can tell me that you read anything that will harm you in any way, and furthermore, if you can tell me that after reading that you don't feel a little bit better, just generally, you don't even know specifically what you feel better about, you just feel better, and you're really kind of thinking maybe you ought to read some more of that because that was actually pretty good, you be sure and tell me that it was a complete disappointment reading the first 10 chapters of Matthew. That'll get you started. And if a little spark goes off, start reading some more. Read the whole thing. Read the New Testament first. It's easy. You can go back and pick up the Old Testament once your interest is sufficiently high to do so. It's no big stretch to read the New Testament. Read it. Read the English Standard. If you don't have an English Standard, read the King James. It'll be fine. You're going to feel a lot better, and you may find that you really do have a direction. You just forgot. You don't know where you're going to be 10 seconds from now. You really don't. People plan, and they plan, and they plan. You have no idea. There's a joke out there, and I think I heard it from Dr. Charles Stanley one time. If you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. You know what I mean?
That's good.
And take a look. It's the only thing that's going to get people through this because they're not going to get their answers from other people. They're really not. They'll get something that'll hold them for a few minutes, but it's not the answer they're looking for that's going to actually carry them through what they're going to have to face. Now, people pass away every minute. Somebody will pass away in an hour from now somewhere on the planet, and they won't have to deal with all this New World Order and this other stuff. But for those of the living, work as though you're preparing an inheritance for your great-grandchildren. Don't worry about this stuff. Go to Scripture, find your mission, and do it. Do what's best for you. Mind your own business. Maintain your individuality. Bind, if you will, bind with someone. Bind with people of like interests. And remember that trust doesn't come with a handshake or a smile or a wink or any of that. Trust is earned. Be very careful who you trust. And I repeat, go to your Scripture and read the first 10 chapters of Matthew. You will be much happier when you have finished.
And real quick, John, before we finish up here, I just want to get your take on this whole thing about the general that just recently came out and basically talked about the hybrid armies and the little green men. What's your take on that?
Could be one of two things. I read a little piece that said the hybrids are talking about conventional and unconventional warfare. And the little green men he was referring to are the Russians who have been inserted into Ukraine, which there's supposed to be a big offensive coming in that region pretty soon. But who knows? I don't know. I'm not standing around the big round table with the map on it. But that's what they say. It could be he's talking about. It could be talking about UFO people, I guess. That could be general knowledge there. That ETs, they're out there. Just don't talk about them much. The civvies don't. They don't appreciate that kind of talk. He could have been talking about that. He could have been talking about man-machine combos. You know, they've been talking about man amplifiers since the early 60s, the suit that you put on. And these suits exist. You step into it, you look like Tony Stark. And this one guy was talking about loading an entire Humvee full of ammo that normally would have taken him hours and would have been a real backbreaker, and he got it done in like 45 minutes or something. So this stuff exists. It could have been talking about that, or it could be what was released next, which was, hey, everybody's in a twist over there. You'll face terrorists. You'll face hybrids. You'll face little green men. Who knows? Those are my two possibilities at present. Who knows? The world is so strange now. There could be a third option, but it's eluding me at the moment.
This is very weird speech. Very weird.
Yeah.
And to have it on film, they actually let it be filmed, and they did it themselves at that academy, was almost unbelievable.
And it could be even a general's version. That was the Army Chief of Staff, and it could even be a Gunnery Sergeant Hartman-esque, a la Full Metal Jacket, with that "you will not laugh, you will not cry, you will learn by the numbers I will teach you." It could be, "You will face everything. You will face terrorists. You will face hybrids. You will face little green men." You know, it could have been something like that. He could have been just acting out, or it could be he's serious. Yeah, they're ETs. You're gonna have to deal with those guys too. He could very well have been saying that. We know they exist. We know their craft are buzzing around all over the place. Somebody's craft that doesn't look normal is buzzing around all over the place, and there's lots of them.
Yeah.
So, who knows?
I believe it. What was it? Art Bell that actually had Father Malachi on Coast to Coast and was actually talking to him about Grand Mountain, and he hammered him down and said, you guys muscled your way onto that mountain. And, he's like, what is the Vatican doing up there? And, Father Malachi basically told him, he said, basically we are looking into deep space and we are watching what is approaching the earth.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they had that priest on recently that was, he was talking about the Vatican. And I believe you touched on the topic with him about Project Lucifer and the Pope.
Yeah, I spoke with Tom Horn and Chris Putnam about this. They said that those astronomers say UFOs, we got to wait for them to get out of the way so we can look at what we want to see. Those guys are totally over it. They see stuff flying around up there all the time. But you know what? There are a lot of good Catholics out there. However, the Catholic Church certainly raises each of my eyebrows alternately and sometimes both at the same time on a number of issues. In my view, there's a lot of idolatry going on there. I mean, you pray to the Virgin Mary, and they got all these icons there, and you do this and you do that, and you confess everything, so somebody's got all the dirt on you every time you go to confession. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if there's some sort of a component there that makes them kind of want to open a portal or see if the portal's opening or see if the guy in the red Union suit with the horns and the tail and the pitchfork, if he's actually riding in on a surfboard. It wouldn't surprise me in the least.
Yeah, I've actually got a book by Kenneth Grant. It's called Aleister Crowley and the Hidden God, and it actually touches on the whole thing about the reason why NASA was created was basically to open these portals and deal with what was on the other side.
Well, there's been a lot of that going around. Anthony Patch talks a lot about it in his discussions about CERN.
Mm-hmm.
They're saying that's what they want to do is open a portal, but this is something that's really irritating, and that is, I'll take opinion. If you say, listen, this is just my opinion, which all the stuff I've been talking about tonight, there have been some facts in there, but a lot of it is just opinion. It's considered opinion, but it's still opinion. But what really bothers me is when people get out there and they start publishing or actually speaking by voice by way of some sort of a little internet program or a big radio program for that matter, and they present these artifacts as if they are truths. CERN's been jacked up to full power, never before done. It's going to be bad, and then nothing happens. Now today, I think it was dailymail.co.uk had a story about this black square around the sun. And it looks like such a totally bollocks photograph. It's just stupid. It's this square with these sort of, looks like little stair steps on each edge. I don't buy it. I don't think that that's an object. NASA doesn't want us to see it. Really? Well, why is it in the press? And why does it look stupid? Why does it look like a really bad Photoshop job? And how big is this thing? The sun's pretty big, and the way you photograph this looks like about, 20 times the size of Earth. What are you saying? It's a craft? Shut up. It's fun, but it's like, give me a break.
Yeah, some of it's pretty blatant that you can see the fakeness in it. There's a few that look real, but not.
They keep hitting us with this stuff so often. What was it recently that that it was like I know what it is. The whole flat earth thing. After that stupidity was foisted upon the YouTube, then come the people saying it was just a psyop. It was a psyop to determine just how gullible people are. Okay? Now, if they're funding grants to determine what type of personality wants the toilet paper to roll over the top of the roll or come out from behind the roll, and they're going to fund that to, I don't know, a couple of $1 million or something, or what foods are consumed before someone a man decides that he feels like a woman within 36 hours. So we're going to throw some money at that. I mean, maybe somebody decided to float out the flat earth theory again just to see how many idiots they could catch.
Well, I don't agree with the whole flat earth term, but I mean, I do look into the whole geocentric universe. Now, I believe that there is something to what the flat earthers are looking at. But I think using the term flat earth, that, like I said, people automatically start thinking tinfoil hats and they just automatically dismiss them and write them off.
Well, that sun would have to be pretty small to shine light on part of this plane that we wound up on a barge instead of an orb. So, I mean, the Earth being the center of this solar system flies in the face of every other solar system, which can be viewed by telescope. And it isn't, some Stanley Kubrick trick in conjunction with the U.S. government, CIA, and Sony Pictures or whatever. It's like it would be a pretty small sun to only heat half of the barge while the other half is in darkness. Oh, that's because the barge is spinning. That's not going to work. Sorry. That said, now they've decided to downgrade Pluto from a planet, right? And we got Nibiru coming in, and we got some people saying, yeah, it's headed our way. And then we had James McManus, I want to say. That's probably wrong, though. I'll probably think of it 10 seconds after we hang up. But he's an astronomer and a physicist as well. And he said that thing that people are picking up that they think is Planet X, Nibiru, is actually Hale-Bopp leaving. And I'm like, really? He goes, well, I made these measurements, and they all occurred at such and such a time. It's an archive at Caravan-to-Midnight, and I would be doing it a real disservice to try and recount it now because he got pretty deep with it. But by the time he had finished explaining it, it sounded actually quite compelling because I've got a photograph around here somewhere of the Bopp comet coming through. Mm-hmm. And so if it's in a cycle, I mean, if it makes a circuit, then certainly it's going to come in and it's going to pass back out. And he said, according to these calculations here, that's exactly what it is. And it's not coming toward us. It's going away from us. So that's all I can tell you. I'm not an astronomer myself.
More date setters.
Yeah.
Fear porn is the way I look at it.
Yeah, fear. Or I heard another one the other day, doom porn.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, let's just remember what Tyler Durden said. On a long enough timeline, the survival rate of everyone is 0. So don't worry about it. Live your life, stay alert, keep your eyes up always, and just be prepared. That's all. Be prepared for the things that you can deal with. It's impossible to prepare for absolutely everything. You can't. Mm-mm. So figure out what your areas of exposure may be and prepare for that. A little money, a little food, a little water, a little shelter, some clothing, and maybe a distance between you and your fellow human beings. That's probably a pretty good place to start. Then after that, you can add communications and everything. The point is, sustain your life. Don't devote your time to worrying about stuff. Devote your life to learning about stuff and take time out to think about the higher ideals that humanity can actually achieve. Ideals now known as, well, in a perfect world, it's like, okay, well, the world's not perfect, but we can still have ideals which we may never reach. We may never realize them, but we can reach for them. We can try. And if we fail, we'll try again and fail better next time.
Yep, maybe get a little bit closer.
I mean, look at a child. Poor little thing is busting his head and his chin and her knees and her rump and elbows and everything else. But eventually, the child will walk. And then before long, it's talking, and then it's running, and then A child is now developing into a full-blown human being, which it was already. It just had to activate things and get a little bit bigger and stronger. Build an immune system, get it going on, get this bioelectrochemical machine that we exist in, our little spirits walk around in, get that thing up to, where it'll run right. And then before long, they're running and they're doing all kinds of amazing things. We need to tap into who we are. We need to not forget who and what we are and who put us here. And if we will just concentrate on that, it'll go a long way to taking everybody's stress level down, clearing their minds of the distractions so that they can focus on the things they need to do what? Make as good a life as they can. That's what the study of philosophy is. Answer the big question, what makes a good life? Well,
it's a good
there are some ideas. Well, for me, I'm a happy guy. That's me. Happy all the time.
Me too. Oh. Well, John, it has been absolutely wonderful again having you on. Would you like to give out your contact information, the Caravan to Midnight, just how people can get a hold of you and listen
absolutely,
to you?
Positively. All of the numbers, office number, and all the appropriate emails are at caravan-to-midnight.com. Just the words, no numbers, no missing letters in midnight, just the words, caravan-to-midnight.com. There are well over 500 shows in archive right now. It's not just inexpensive and affordable, it's downright cheap. As it turns out now, a year-long subscription, you don't have to buy a whole year, but we even break it down into quarters because some people are really kind of down to quarters and they'd like to listen to the show, but they really can't spring for $60 right now, so we let people in at $15 for 3 months. Now, when you consider there are over 500 programs in there, the last time I ran the calculator on this, these shows are 11 cents a piece. So you're going to enjoy the program. There are a lot of people that come on that are just extraordinary. We talk to everybody from Ray McGovern, the ex-CIA whistleblower, to William Binney, the NSA whistleblower. We haven't gotten Snowden on there yet, but we got everybody from John Densmore, the old Doors drummer, to Ted Nugent, who, with all that hair and all that wild rock and roll music, apparently never smoked a joint in his life, and he's a real character. We just love him. We talked to Kinky Friedman. We talked to, we even got Michael Reagan on there one time, and Charlotte Iserbyt, and Roger Stone has been on there a lot lately just because he's on fire about this whole election thing. Many, many people. Just go take a look. You'll be glad you did. And if you want to sample some stuff and see what it's like, just scroll down the page and there's a button there. You can go to our YouTube channel and check out some stuff for free. And we'd love to have you because our members are like, this sounds a little campy, but it's really not. I mean, we're like a family. We really are. We help people. We actually got a wheelchair to a guy who needed it in South Africa, by the way. We support the initiatives of people like Wolfgang Halbig. We get out there and get it done. We don't just, take your subscription money and then run down to the beach and sip on drinks with little hats in them, okay? We don't do that. It's a lot easier to do something for the world if you're willing to spend a little money to try and get it where it needs to go to help people out. And that's what we want to do. We're all in this together, and therefore we are all a family. And we welcome new family members every day. We're in about 150 countries now, and people like it. So we'd love to have you.
You also have an app for Caravan to Midnight. I would like for everyone to know about. I have the app. I'm a caravaner, and, I'm an addict. I admit it. But the app is so wonderful because you get at your fingertips every single Caravan to Midnight. All of them that are archived, you can go through, pick what you want, and it plays. You can also download that episode so that you can put them on your tablet, your phone, whatever you have, and you can just let it play for hours.
And if you're an over-the-road driver and you don't really have coverage for your phone because you download the thing, you can just play it.
That's it. And if everyone would take and just skip one of their Starbucks coffee one day or 3 days, you would have that quarter subscription for $15. And
that's the truth.
It's so worth it.
Yeah. Well, a friend of mine just got a venti vanilla latte today, and it was $4.50, and the program's only $5 a month. So there you go.
Yeah.
You nailed it, Kay.
Yeah, that's how I see it. And to me, it's worth every penny of it, and I don't drink Starbucks.
Oh, well,
So,
thanks for saying that. Yeah. We show up. One of these days, I'm going to take 2 weeks off. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I haven't done it yet, not in over 2 years. But you know what? The thing is when I'm away from the program, even over the weekend, I'm going, I really can't wait to get back into it because it's so good to talk to these people. There's so many brave people out there that are willing to talk about stuff that this mainstream media, they will not talk about this stuff. It's just nauseating. Yeah, we were going to talk to some firebrand with Fox News, but he said, "Oh, I didn't know that you discussed conspiracy theories regarding the Boston Marathon bombing." It's like,
whoa.
oh, well, yeah, but I didn't know that we were going to have a representative of lamestream media come on the program, so that was probably just an oversight by one of our producers. Yeah.
That's good. And before we do the absolute closing, I want to give a shout out to Diane Comtois for her scheduling and her professionalism. She is just absolutely wonderful. She is on it. She's fast. And if there's any questions or anything, she's on it. So thanks, Diane. You're really appreciated from Deception Detection.
I am certain that you will appreciate that.
And would you like to do tonight's closing prayer, John?
Sure, if that's all right. You all right with that, Chad?
Sure.
All right. Heavenly Father, please accept our most abject apology for not paying attention, for being remiss in so many areas of our lives. Grant us just the momentary peace for us to reconnect with who you are and therefore who we are, so that we may live our lives in service to you, knowing that you, as our Father, have said you will look after us, you will be a father to us, and you will bring about prosperity and plenty for us and watch over us all the days of our lives, and that we will dwell with you if we will just submit to your authority and reject evil. Strengthen us, Lord. We're weak and we can't help it. But through you, we can help it, and we will help it. In the name of your Holy Son, Lord Jesus, we pray. Amen.
In Jesus'
Amen.
holy name, amen. Thank you, John. Thank you,
Thank
Chad.
you,
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Chad.
Appreciate it.
And I would like to thank everyone who's listened tonight. May you have a blessed week, and see you next week. Good night, everyone.
In the sky, gazing far into the night, I raise my hand to the fire, but it's no use, 'cause you can't stop it from shining through.